All right, and your final demo, final new technique, new demo for your lidded container project is pulling a handle. And that is how you are going to have to make the handle that is on your lidded container. Whether it's on the lid, you kind of have to decide where it makes most sense. For the most part, it's probably going to be on the lid of your container, but this is a new technique. You are required to do this technique to create your handle, and you must have a handle on your lidded container. So this is called pulling a handle or milking a handle. It's kind of like milking a cow. You're pulling the clay down. And the reason that I teach you this method of making handles is because this is the method that most ceramicists use. I would say the majority of ceramicists use anytime they need a handle on a mug, a handle on a container, anything like that. So we are going to start with a piece of clay that kind of looks like a carrot, kind of looks like a spike or a stake. So I'm going to kind of start like a cone. I'm going to start by kind of thinning it out down here at the bottom to make less work for myself. You want to make sure that your clay is really, really, really well wedged. If there are air pockets in here, it's going to make it very difficult to create your handle. The other thing I'm going to do is make like a little indent, kind of looks like a nail or something, so that I can hold on to it. Okay, I've got my bucket of water and I'm going to start. You want to keep your hand really wet, and I'm going to wet my hand. I'm going to pull down, so pulling a handle, and then I'm going to rotate it, pull down. I am not adding a lot of pressure. So if you have air pockets, it's just going to start coming off because you'll have weak spots. You want to make sure that you pull past the end, and you want to make sure that you are giving even pressure. Notice I'm rotating my clay. If you give unequal pressure, you're going to have like weird spots like that are then maybe going to fall off. Okay, so I'm rotating, I'm giving equal pressure, I am pulling down past the end. So once we get to, kind of think coil thickness, maybe thicker coil thickness. If you want more of a flat handle, you can then kind of pull just on two sides without rotating it. If you want it to stay round, you can keep it round. So now I'm going to get rid of my bucket of water once I have a length that's going to be long enough for my handle, and I'm going to decide how much I need. So if I get one of my containers over here, you can kind of decide what kind of handle are you going to put on there, how much of this clay do you need. You can cut it away from the big chunk and re-wedge that. We want to make sure that enough clay is attached for the handle that it's going to stay connected. So this is a teeny tiny amount of clay. If I tried to do something like this, that's going to want to break off fairly easily. If you wanted to do something like that, you would definitely want to then slip and score coils around that area. So like if I slipped and scored this on here, I would then want to slip and score and smooth that in almost so like it almost looks like that where it's attached. Okay, so just kind of be careful. If your clay is super soft, you may not want to try to mess with it right away. You really want your handle to be able to keep its shape before attaching it. So what I would recommend, figure out how you want this to go on here. So the other thing that we can do, maybe we want it something like this. We can cut angles. So if you notice, that automatically gives a larger surface area. Okay, so then I've got a slightly larger surface area. So then if I slipped and scored it on like that and smoothed those in, that would be a good connection. If you want to try like twisting your handle, you could do something like that. You could bring it together in a circle and do something like that, slipped and scored on. You just want to make sure that whatever you do, you're getting a large enough connection and it is stiff enough to hold itself up. So if you need to, you might need to shape your handle and then kind of let it just get a little bit harder, closer to leather hard maybe, before actually attaching it on. So that is the method of pulling a handle or milking a handle and attaching it on. Definitely do not pick your lid up by its handle until you have fired it, bisque fired it, okay? As these handles, once you attach them, and remember, we must slip and score. So I would want to score both, slip one. Okay, make sure you do that. Okay, smooth that in. To get into like the crevices, sometimes a needle tool is helpful to kind of close that seam. The silicone smoothing tool is good, but you want to make sure that you really smooth it in really well. If this were my handle and I was putting this one on, I would want to make sure, so I wiggle that on, that I essentially close the seam. So you want to make sure that you go around, and in some cases, if you don't feel like there's a lot of clay connected, you may want to go ahead and add a little coil around there. But do not pick up your lid by the handle until it's been bisque fired. And then remember, we want to let the lid dry on your container so it doesn't warp funny. Okay, those are handles.